next, here we go again. Blago round 2. The ex-governor's retrial kicks off today. Dozens of jurors were screened, and the defense team, well, they are missing a familiar face. Phil Rogers has more.
I think people should know that this is not going to be the same type of trial that it was before.
He's right. And one big reason is that Sam Adams Jr. will be miles from the rarefied air of the federal court. We caught up with him today in a very different world, Chicago's criminal courts building at 26th and California, where he insisted that this time the former governor might actually be better off without him.
My particular style was not well appreciated in the particular form.
Indeed. Earlier this week, Judge James Zagel revealed that he is still steamed about this Sam Zinger from verdict day last year.
I'm talking to the people of Illinois. I'm talking, and they're going to say it that I'm talking to the next jury. Yes, I'm talking to the next jury.
What I said was, don't hold the conviction against Rod, blame me, which means come in with an open mind. That's all I want a jury to do in this case.
In trial number 1, Adam provided some of the most vivid courtroom moments. That will change. But he says the message remains the same.
Put away the bravado, put away the circus of types, and get to the nuts and bolts. And when you do that, a jury can clearly see he may be a lot of things, but he is not corrupt.
Sam Adams' bombastic 26th Street style frequently rankled the judge. This trial will most certainly be more sedate, but not nearly so colorful.
You wish you were there?
Certainly. I know that Rod needs a different take, a different look, and he's got it. And I predict 20-0. That's what I predict. 20-0, not guilty.
There's a prediction for you. Joining me now is Alden Lurie, the publisher of Chicago Reporter, and Thomas Glasgow, a former Cook County State's attorney, now a defense attorney. So, Tom, I have to ask you first and foremost about juries. What kind of jury? Because I know there's a lot of different opinions about what makes up a good jury, and they kind of are as varied as juries themselves. What kind of jury do you think Rod Blagojevich and his team want?
Rod Blagojevich is looking for those people that have independent minds, that are higher thinkers, that are going to be stubborn like the holdout that they had before. They want someone who has the courage of their convictions, not to give in to the pressure, peer pressure. You're looking for leadership, you're looking for leadership styles, you're looking for someone who personally, after questioning them, you get the feeling that they're going to have the courage of the convictions and follow their own way and be able to stand up to these other juries. Peer pressure is a very, very difficult thing to stand up to, especially when you're dealing with the magnitude of the case that you have right here.
What do you think of Sam Adams, just from a lawyer's perspective? I know you probably see him and have dealt with him.
Sam is a good attorney. He is. He's a good attorney. He's very good for his clients. He does a good job. His style may not particularly suit this case because of the way that the federal system is structured. However, he does a very, very good job for his clients at 26th Street. And he did a good job in the first. He fought the United States to a draw. With the exception of the one charge in the prior trial. I mean, you cannot fault that man for that.
You could argue that might be a win in a lot of cases. So, Alden, last time around, trial 1, we saw an amazing media blitz. Now, today, Rod Blagojevich is on the cover of Sun-Times, and he has been on the radio, but we haven't seen anything like we had before. Why do you think that is? Because I think clearly he's still trying to influence a jury. Why do you think it hasn't been quite as extensive?
Well, I think coming off of the first trial, there might have been some feeling that it was a bit much. I mean, he was literally everywhere. And then when given that latitude and that room to talk, there were some things he said that, necessarily didn't, work out in his favor. He seems much more toned down. He seems much more reserved, perhaps. And I saw him on Channel 9 earlier this week, and he's really trying to be human, I think. Hey, I'm not perfect. And again, trying to maybe build up some level of goodwill. It's probably a much better approach than the first time around.
And he hasn't said whether or not, Tom, he will testify. Do you think he should?
Let's go back to the first one. He said he was going to testify, said he was going to testify, said he was going to testify, and didn't testify. If you go back to the impeachment, he didn't testify then either. He has never, ever once subjected himself to cross-examination, not in any venue, anywhere, yet he's done a very, very effective job using the press to get his message across, to say, here's what I want to say, here's what I want the jury to hear, but I don't want anybody questioning me about what's being said. Now, Judge Zagel did make it very clear in his ruling, he could conceive of a set of circumstances where the statements, the extrajudicial statements that Blagojevich is making, could be used against him in court. And he cautioned him very, very sternly, stop doing what you're doing and trying to poison the waters. I could very easily see if Blagojevich continued down this vein, somehow, some way, statements getting into this trial that would have not been introduced in the first trial.
Now, I know he's also keeps talking about the tapes, the tapes, the tapes. The government isn't releasing all of the tapes, but the only way he can get some of these tapes introduced, really, is if he gets on stand so that they can be introduced. Otherwise, they don't have to introduce them. How critical is that? Because he keeps saying you have to hear all the tapes, or is this just smoke? Well,
I think you're trying to make a situation where, okay, maybe there's something else out there. Keep the jury guessing. Is there some sort of reasonable doubt? And I mean, looking from a press standpoint, it's a pretty good strategy. However, in order to get that information into the jury, he's got to get on the stand. He's got to testify. And if he testifies, I think he's going to open up way too many doors for the prosecution to cross-examine him on many different things that he doesn't want to be cross-examined on.
All right, Alden, I have to ask you, I know the Chicago Tribune today actually had the one holdout juror from the first trial in their paper today. It was interesting. She says she has no regrets. And now Judge Zagel is going to handle the jurors differently than he did the first time around as far as releasing their information. From a journalistic standpoint, what do you think about that?
Well, I mean, I can certainly understand, and the juror described just how she was bombarded with requests. I don't know. In a trial this big, I think that jury, I mean, they're like public figures now. I think the press should certainly have access to them. There's some question about what's in good taste, but I think some access would be great. She did suggest that there's like a press conference held immediately after the trial. That may be a way to help subdue some of the craziness in the zoo-like atmosphere, and it does give the press access to the jurors immediately after they make their decision. I think that would be a good move, and that might help get rid of some of the problems that she dealt with. But if there is an outcome similar to what we saw the first time around, those jurors have to be ready that folks are going to want to know why they made the decision they made or why they didn't make the decision, or if it comes around the way it did the first time.
All right, guys, keep your pagers and phones ready. We'll be calling you as this trial goes on, I'm sure. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, see, he says he's been a light